Hi, we had discussed in an earlier video about the huge number of advantages from working out in Zone 2, that is at lower intensities. You can see the link for that video provided in the description below in case you're interested to watch that. Recall too that mitochondria, which are the energy producing factories present in all cells throughout our body, can utilize either fats or carbohydrates to produce energy. Mitochondrial flexibility to use either fats or carbohydrates is very important for our health and for sports performance. Here in this video, we discuss at an easy conversational pace how best to utilize our body fat effectively during exercise and therefore also enabling reduction of excess body fat. This graph here is a graphic representation of what we talked about briefly, which is about metabolic flexibility of mitochondria as one of the advantages. In this graph you can see that the x-axis represents intensity of exercise as a percentage of VO2 max. The y-axis represents percentage of energy derived from using fat or carbohydrates. And you can see that at the very beginning, at low intensities of the exercise or activity, fat, which is represented by the red line, is the main contributor of energy. The carbohydrates represented by the blue line is also a contributor, but much less so. But as the intensity of the activity increases, you can see that fat starts dropping off as a contributor of energy and carbohydrates starts to increase in their contribution towards energy. And there is an intersection point also known as the crossover point. And towards the very end, in this particular graph, you can see that fat ceases to contribute towards energy production, and carbohydrates then become the primary substrate that is being used for energy production. Now it needs to be mentioned here that this is just one graph that represents a person at any given point in time, and it is different for different people, and even for the same person as their fitness changes, then the graph is also likely to change. We are going to see more details about that shortly. This graph is yet another graph representing the same thing slightly differently. The x-axis represents intensity of exercise as a percentage of VO2 max. The y-axis on the left and right represent the percentage energy from lipid oxidation, and on the right percentage energy from carbohydrate oxidation. The blue line represents fat, and the red line here represents carbohydrates. And just like we saw in the previous slide, we can see that at the beginning, at low intensities, fat is the main contributor, and carbohydrates are contributing, but much less so. And there is an intersection point as fat drops off in its contribution and carbohydrates increase in their contribution towards energy production. That point is the crossover point. And in this particular graph, just after 80% of VO2 max, representing the intensity of exercise, perhaps 85-90%, is where fat drops off as the contributor of energy completely, and carbohydrates take over entirely at that point. So this graph is also very interesting, meaning like we can see that at the same intensity, the x-axis here represents duration of the exercise, and the y-axis represents once again percentage of fat or carbohydrates towards energy production. And you can see that the contribution of fat increases as the duration of the activity or exercise increases, and contribution from carbohydrates decreases. But bear in mind, this is for the same intensity of the exercise, and the intensity should be low enough that there is contribution from fat to begin with. So if we look at this snapshot where the intensity of the exercise is at a point when there is very little or zero contribution from fat, we might not see this kind of an increase. So the other way to look at this is when we are exercising in the aerobic zone, then to maximize percentage of fat being used, percentage of fat in our body being used, we can increase the duration. So if it is very less, 20 minutes or less, you can see that there is not much of an increase in fat utilization towards energy. But as we increase, so 30 minutes, 45 minutes, 1 hour, and then beyond that, then you can see that the fat contribution increases, and therefore lengthy periods of exercising in the aerobic zone, precisely the definition for aerobic base building, is good. In fact, it's better than lower durations of exercises and activities done in the low intensities. This is for increasing the contribution of fat towards energy production. Please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon to receive notification whenever new videos are added. If you do find the content helpful, please like the video. That would be a great encouragement for us to put out more videos. Here are more similar content for you to check out. Thank you.